I'm delighted to announce that WHO has the honor of working with Kim Sledge of the legendary group Sister Sledge and Natasha Mudhar.
I would like to ask Dr. Swaminathan to take your questions. Thank you, Dr. Swaminathan.
Thank you. Those are all excellent questions. So the first one is on this topic of the studies. You mentioned two trials, the Eli Lilly trial, which is actually a trial of monoclonal antibodies. So not a vaccine, but a monoclonal antibody is now being tested in an approach to both prevent infection among people who are exposed, to prevent progression of disease among those who have the infection but very mild illness, and also in a group of patients who are hospitalized with COVID. So it's in this particular group of patients hospitalized with COVID where the antibody was being tested was halted by the Data Safety Monitoring Committee. And we're still waiting for details of that. But obviously, the Data Safety Monitoring Committee is the committee that looks at the blinded data, so the investigators are not aware of what the issues are. And I think we will hear something more later this week or next week about that particular study. But there are other trials of monoclonal antibodies that are ongoing. So this is a space that we need to watch. And it's possible that these antibodies would also have a role to play in prevention, though we know that it's short-lived. It'll be shorter-lived than a vaccine, because antibodies have a half-life in the body, which is about 20 days or so. So if you give somebody an injection, then over a period of time, that protection will wane. The other trial you mentioned is the Johnson & Johnson vaccine trial, which is an adenovirus 26 vaccine platform. And this vaccine trial has been halted. Again, we don't know the details of what has happened, but we know a patient had a serious adverse event. And this is a part of the conduct of clinical trials. You mentioned that these are companies that know what they're doing. So this is why the trials are set up in a way that safety is monitored, and that if there is any signal, then the trial is halted. The Data Safety Monitoring Committee looks into the details and then makes a decision based on whether or not this side effect was related to the vaccine, and whether or not it's serious enough to have a longer halt, or whether the trial could resume. So again, we're waiting for further information. But on the whole, this is exactly what happens in clinical trials. It's just that now everything is under the spotlight, and so we see all of these events as they're unfolding. But this is not something to get unduly worried about. This is something that we have to watch. And because there are so many vaccines in trial and will be going into phase 3 trials, I think we need to stay hopeful and optimistic. So that brings me to your other question of what's happening with the whole space of vaccines. When will we have a vaccine? This is something that we're tracking. So WHO has a landscape document that gets updated on our website, where we look at how many candidates at what stages of development. And we know that there are over 45 candidates now in phase 3 studies. So lots of data will be coming through. We're looking at the beginning of next year, really, to start seeing data from many of the trials, though we may see one or two before the end of the year. But the majority will start reporting in early 2021. And that's when then we'll be able to see the data, the regulators will see the data. Many of these companies are already manufacturing several millions of doses. So as soon as the results are out, if it's promising, companies will be able to start providing those doses to the COVAX facility, which will then distribute based on the fair allocation framework that we have developed and that we've talked about, which prioritizes which group of people should get the vaccine, but equitably across all countries. So not a few people in a few countries, but a few people in all countries, the most high risk to be protected. So the timing of that is probably somewhere in the middle of 2021, that we're going to start seeing countries but again, selected high-risk groups of people getting vaccinated. On the older people, your question is absolutely correct, that as you age, your immune system is less robust in its response. and therefore some vaccines don't work as well. But again, there is good news because some of the vaccines in development now are showing very good immunogenicity in older people as well. And that's data from the phase 2 trials that we've seen. So there are some of the vaccines, certainly, that are showing promising results even amongst the older people. So hopefully we will have some vaccines that will be effective because we know older people are a high-risk group and it would be important to protect them with vaccines. I hope that answers your questions.
Thank you. I would like now to ask Shen from China Daily to ask the next question. Shen, can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, I'm based in Brussels, so I want to go back to the Europe question. Could you, Michael, Maria, talk about what do you think are the, you keep talking about applying all the tools. What are the tools Europe missing? Because, Belgium is shutting down the restaurant, bars for months. But if that's not actually the loophole